Broadcasting from the Civic Cypher Studios, welcome to the QR Code, where we share perspective, seek understanding, and shape outcomes. I am Ramses Ja.
And I am Q Ward.
And we would like for you to stick around today because we have a lot to talk about. First up, we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Shedeur Sanders. Okay, you know, I famously am not the sports guy, but Q is, so he keeps me in line here. But we're going to talk about him and his getting drafted so late, the 144th overall pick, and we're gonna, kind of discuss, some of the goings on and try to sort out why that happened. There's a lot of opinions online, and I'm learning, so I know that Q's going to provide us some insight there, but we're definitely going to get into that. We're also going to be talking about Shannon Sharpe and the lawsuit, the $50 million lawsuit that's been filed against him. We're going to offer some maybe opinions on that story. So that's a troubling one, but obviously one we need to cover. We're also going to spend some time, if you're able to stick around for later in the show, discussing a judge that was arrested for trying to protect an immigrant. And we're kind of seeing the role of judges and the esteem that we typically assign to judges. We're seeing that evolve in real time. And so we're going to spend some time discussing that story. And for our final story of the day, we're going to be discussing the movie Sinners. So for those that are able to stick around for the entertainment section, we're going to hear from Ryan Coogler. There's a clip that I want to play for everyone, but also we're going to discuss the movie and kind of the cultural impact of the movie, because that's an exciting thing that a lot of folks are talking about as well. All that and so much more to stick around for. But around here, we like to start off feeling good. We hope you're feeling good too. So let's start off with our feel good feature. We're going to share a bit from MSN. This is the headline rather is ACLU defeats Trump, signals Supreme Court shift. So I'll share a bit. The Supreme Court recently blocked the Trump administration from deporting Venezuelans detained in northern Texas under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. The court's ruling overturned earlier guidance requiring individuals to have a chance to present their cases before deportation. The American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, initiated the emergency appeal leading to this ruling, which may signal a shift in the conservative-leaning High Court. So, that's not nothing.
I guess we can hold out hope. I tend not to in instances like this, because I don't look forward to being let down in that way. But, someone standing up to Donald Trump and the idea that, or getting back to the idea that everyone deserves due process, not just those who the other side deems worthy, because even themselves, without due process, could be held in these same circumstances and could do nothing to prove that they don't deserve the same bad treatment that they're wishing on other people.
Absolutely. One of the things that, for people that aren't able to imagine or put themselves in the shoes of an illegal, quote unquote, person, just imagine if you were taking a vacation and you were in England or some country in the Middle East or Africa, and you were accused of stealing a candy bar from the store, and then they just took you and threw you to jail or sent you to some country where you don't know anyone, and you never had a chance to say, wait a minute, I didn't accuse that. That's what it must feel like to be, a lot of people in this country right now. And so the ACLU fighting for due process in the Supreme Court, falling on the right side of history, is not nothing, so we'll take it. Moving on. For our first topic that we want to discuss today, a little bit about culture. Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to share a bit from PBS. It's not often that the 144th pick is the biggest story of the NFL draft, but Shedeur Sanders was not the usual 144th pick, and his situation transcended football. The narrative around Sanders blurred lines between sports, race, and culture. The former University of Colorado quarterback was the center of a 3-day spectacle of cringe that will live in football lore for a long time. Sanders fell from a potential top 5 overall selection on Thursday to the 5th round on Saturday in an excruciating slide that had his supporters fuming and detractors laughing. The Cleveland Browns finally ended Sanders' misery with the number 144th selection, adding the 23-year-old to a crowded quarterback room that includes Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, fellow rookie Dylan Gabriel, and the injured Deshaun Watson. So, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on the story because, famously, of all the programs that we do together, you're an athlete yourself. You come from that stock, former athlete. I saw your face.
Today, I'm definitely not an athlete. I saw your face.
But, kind of, help me and our listeners that may not be as familiar with the story understand kind of what's going on here, why this took place, and what it means.
So for those who are not, sports fans like my brother here, Shedeur Sanders, the son of Hall of Famer, all-time All-Pro Deion Sanders, was a quarterback at the University of Colorado, which I was lucky enough to be able to go and cover for iHeart. He had a pretty incredible college career. Started off at an HBCU, transferred to a Division I program where expectations were both very high, and some expected him to fall on his face. HBCUs, they considered not high enough level of competition that he wouldn't be able to thrive or succeed with the big boys. And he proved a lot of people very wrong. The interesting thing about his career was that once he got to Colorado and they started seeing a little bit of success, people lined up to see them fail. And when they fell short, people, standing ovation, celebrated their losses. Part of that was resentment for his very, very confident father, his very successful father, his very flamboyant father of must be the money fame, and of telling teams when he was about to get drafted, they wouldn't be able to afford him. They have to put him on layaway. So when that's your dad, there are people, and we can kind of all imagine in our head the type of people that want that type of black man to fail.
Okay.
There were others who their negative emotions and their kind of hater qualities had nothing to do with his dad. They had everything to do with him. Shedeur very famously scores touchdowns and then shows off what I've been told is, I think, a $250,000 watch to the fans in attendance, which rubbed some people the wrong way as well.
Okay.
But what we saw with him is unprecedented because he was, by some measures and by some awards, the top quarterback in college football last year. There weren't very many people that had him rated lower than the second best quarterback in college football last year. And if you follow the draft at all, a quarterback is the most valuable position in football. And if you can get a good quarterback on a rookie deal, that kind of is the pathway toward monumental success for your team.
Okay.
Quarterback is overvalued against other positions. I say that as to say the number one defensive player, the number one running back, the number one wide receiver might be better players overall at their position and on the rankings of players overall. But because the quarterback position is so much more important and so much more valuable, typically a lower ranked quarterback will get selected before a higher ranked running back.
Okay.
So, one of the reasons why it was so strange that he went so long without being drafted is not only because he was ranked so high, but because other quarterbacks who were not as good as him were drafted before him. In a lot of cases, we don't like to call racism. We get tired of hearing ourselves say it. So there's cases where we make the devil's advocate argument just to not say it again. But there's really not very many other ways to justify that.
Can I ask you this?
Please.
Were there other quarterbacks that were drafted that were also black?
Yes, the number one overall pick was black.
Okay.
But I wish I had the headline in front of me. There's a headline that reads, "This black quarterback doesn't have on flashy gold chains."
Oh.
You understand? So that's underpinning of racism.
Yeah.
Right? Be the do-gooder black guy.
That's what I was going to. Okay. So that's what.
Don't be the hoppity hip, diamond chain, diamond watch black guy.
Don't be like his dad.
Don't be like your dad. Don't be like
confident.
Don't be so confident. Don't be so loud. Don't be so ghetto.
Okay.
Right? All these things that they'll go without saying. And yes, there were other quarterbacks, actually 2 quarterbacks drafted before him that were black. But that's just like saying, what do you mean I'm racist? I have a black friend. So what? The lesson that they were trying to teach here was be humble. Sit down. Be humble.
To quote the great Dr.
the great philosopher from Compton, California, Mr. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth. So yeah, and I've seen some of our colleagues argue that, you know, he didn't get drafted higher because he wasn't that good. And I'm asking, what do you base that on? Right? There's a reason why people thought he would be drafted higher. It wasn't just because he was famous. He won the award that college football gives to the best quarterback in the country.
Oh, you told me about this.
Right? So it wasn't just our imagination that we thought he would go higher. And again, if you thought he wasn't that good, then the guys that were drafted before him, who didn't have as impressive numbers, who didn't have as much success, who were not ranked as high, then how do you justify selecting them before him?
Okay, so how about this? Real quick, is this the guy that had the girlfriend?
No, so that was Travis Hunter, his teammate, who was the number 2 overall pick in the draft.
Okay.
But Travis Hunter, just like, you know, the quarterback got selected before him, Cam Ward, would be described the same way. So
real quick, is the guy Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, they're from the same team?
Same team from HBCU to Colorado. They went together with Coach Prime.
So that's something that says something about Deion Sanders' coaching abilities, right? Okay. All right, so that's first. The second thing is, for Shedeur Sanders, because I don't know how drafts work. When we say 144th overall pick, does that mean that the team that picked him, which is the Cleveland Browns, they picked other people before they got to him?
Yes.
So did they end up stuck with him, or did they really want him?
So that's the trick, right? There are 32 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Every team picks in every round of the draft. So the 144th pick would have been 32, 4th or 5th round.
Okay.
And we can verify that later. But yes, the Browns selected multiple players before they selected him.
Does that mean that he gets less money?
Yes. Where you're drafted as a rookie determines how much money you get paid.
And does that mean he's not going to be able to play as often as some of the other people?
So what it would typically mean is you won't have as many opportunities as someone drafted higher, except he's Shedeur Sanders.
So he will.
So all it means is we can pay you less, and we may have taught you a lesson.
All right, let me ask you this. Do you think that this was a concerted effort by the NFL or the NFL teams to...
Do I think they colluded to do this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think it's by chance that every team passed over the number 2 quarterback in the draft 3 or 4 times by chance.
And you said he's number 2 only on some list. On other lists, he's probably number 1?
Yeah. I mean, he won the O'Brien Award. It's given to the number 1 quarterback in college. But even if you think that's subjective, people voted on that and he won it. And there's a reason why him slipping was a story. If he wasn't that good, it would have made sense that he wasn't drafted high.
All right.
He was very good, so people were very confused as to why teams kept passing on him.
And last question.
Please.
Do you think, because, you know, a lot of people see 2 black men talking about this, and we were going to say, well, there's race played a factor. Do you think that there's anything besides race or culture, we'll say, because you said chains and things like that, that might have factored into his making it to 144th? Is there anything else that we might have...
It'd be hard to argue anything else, right? Because all the other things would be true for every other player every year, right? It's not it's the draft is a crapshoot. You don't know that the player that you pick is going to be good. We've seen number 1 overall picks bust.
Okay.
Right? But why the guy who was ranked so high went so low, it's hard to point to anything else and make it make sense.
Okay. Well, we'll keep watching. For now, let's move on to our segment 2, opinions. Shannon Sharpe. So he's an athlete too, a football player too.
Indeed.
I know this. And I'm going to be fair. I'm going to let everyone know. I got on Shannon Sharpe like I was not like on him. Q put me on him. And I like fell in love with this guy. I thought he was like, he's so Southern, right?
He's from South Georgia.
Yeah, he sounds like it. And I think this guy's the greatest. And so I'm kind of coming to the Shannon Sharpe table like in the past couple of years, right? I didn't watch him play football or anything like that. And obviously he's in some trouble, you know, for those that follow the headline. So I'll share a bit, bring everyone up to speed. All right, this is from CNN. Shannon Sharpe has said he will temporarily take time away from his role on ESPN after being sued for assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. He denies the allegations in the lawsuit filed Sunday by an anonymous woman and her attorneys. Sharpe plays a prominent part on ESPN's morning sports debate show, First Take. Quote, "I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason," unquote, Sharpe said in a statement issued on Thursday. The Pro Football Hall of Famer concluded by thanking his family, fans, friends, and colleagues for their support. Following Sharpe's announcement, ESPN said in a statement, quote, "This is a serious situation and we agree with Shannon's decision to step away," unquote. Sharpe's legal representatives previously told CNN the lawsuit was an attempt to shake down the popular podcaster for millions of dollars and said he categorically denies all allegations of coercion and misconduct. So here's, what else I know about this. I know he released some text messages. I saw the video where he says, he made a statement, like kind of a piece to camera statement, basically saying I'm innocent of these charges. The lawyer is an ambulance chaser type of lawyer, and he tries to shake down, black men for money. And so he made that statement, and he released some text messages that kind of gave people some insight into the nature of his relationship with this woman that's now accusing him of these things. I also know that there may, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if you know better, but maybe there was an attempt to settle, or there was some talk or some conversation about settling with her for $10 million. Now it's a $50 million lawsuit. So that kind of throws a wrench in how things look. And most recently, there was a story about Shannon refusing to watch a video that has him in it and it's being used as a piece of evidence from sort of the people that are suing Shannon. So Shannon was like, I'm not going to watch that video, or I don't need to see that video. So this is about more or less what we know about the story. So I guess your thoughts here first, Q.
This is a very interesting story because once accused of something like this, there is no actual right move. There's a bunch of wrong ones, but there's no actual right one. You are forever accused of rape or sexual assault. And you and I have noticed this pattern of very, very, very loud accusations. And then when there's an acquittal or an outright discovery that it was a lie from the beginning, a very, very quiet acknowledgement of that lie. And the Jane Doe gets to slide back into anonymity, and the accused celebrity gets to be an accused
whatever forever.
Yeah. It is the most unfair thing ever, and it puts you in a position where, especially in cases like this where Tony Busby is the attorney, to almost pause before believing an accuser or a victim here. I feel bad for Shannon because I think the decisions that he's making help people frame him in a negative light, even if he's done nothing illegal. I intentionally didn't say done nothing wrong, because there's several missteps, right? Stepping away from your job without being forced to is a mistake, because you think you look bad. You look worse when you voluntarily quit your job because of the accusations. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. Right. And now, since you stepped away, we don't have to pay you. Make them people fire you, and they owe you some money typically. You step away, and okay, good job, thank you. Yeah, we agree with Shannon that he should step away, right? Because it is negative attention. Also, a 19-year-old OnlyFans model, when you're pushing 60, is a bad idea. Or even if you're just 50.
But it's not illegal. Yeah.
Like I said, he didn't do anything illegal, but I didn't say he didn't do anything wrong. Right? There's in the text that he shared, she's making it very clear this is a money thing for her. $25,000 per such and such. And just their normal conversations, and several messages about him impregnating her. The type of things that should give you some pause if you're this very famous, very wealthy man with this very young woman. So there's the level of careful that I've seen Shannon Sharpe
suggest to other people.
No, himself throughout his whole career. Like, he very famously says he won't ride on elevators alone with women. not because he has any desire to do anything wrong, but if someone says he did, this very, very large, big black man on an elevator with a woman who could feel threatened or feel intimidated or just decide to shake him down, what can I do? So I'd rather not put myself in that position. So to be a person who I've heard famously say that on television multiple times, it's strange that he'd find himself in a situation like this. As far as him not wanting to watch the video, I'm guessing he was there when it was filmed and he might know how that story played out.
Yeah, I didn't love that headline.
But his lawyers watched it, and you don't get that from the headline. The headline makes it seem like him and his team are running away from this thing. No, the evidence was submitted through discovery.
That's what I'm saying.
His legal team watched the video. He's in it. I was in that movie. I don't need to see it. So I don't know. There's some presumed guilt in the words used in headlines, but that's intentional. I feel bad for him though, because there's no way to prove a negative. You're saying I didn't do something. It's kind of hard to prove the thing that didn't happen. There's no evidence of the thing that didn't happen. All he has is what's being presented, the things that did happen. And I think what he was doing, and kind of clumsily by releasing those text messages, was like, hey, everybody, look, this thing was consensual. Not I didn't do it. Right? Which again, he didn't do anything illegal, but this relationship that she's talking about and this tape, this video exists. Whatever is on it, even though you're saying there's 30 seconds edited to make him look bad, that means there's 30 seconds worth of footage that makes you look bad. So it's just all these things coming together, man. It's tough, and once you're under this spotlight and under this microscope, it's very, very hard to remove yourself from it.
Well, so the thing about this is, and I know we're supposed to have an opinion, but it's hard to have an opinion because I think you end up in a tough spot just as an observer, because the culture has moved in such a way that we are supposed to be supporting women, right?
And believing victims.
Exactly. And we should be. And we also see that we need to support black people, black men, you know what I mean? And we're supposed to, celebrate wins like, Shannon Sharpe getting to the level that he's at. And we recognize, we especially as black men, we recognize that there might be some factors or some forces behind the scenes that, or, pitfalls along the way that are particularly, that he might be particularly vulnerable to. And so I think that what we have to do is kind of balance our support for women in general, because now that she's kind of stepped into this role, it's not let's believe her specifically. It's do we believe women when they come forward with their stories, or do we believe Shannon Sharpe and based on what we know of him, does he seem like the sort of person that would do this sort of thing? And of course we can't know beyond what he shows us, but the truth is that both sides kind of have some holes, and her side, her getting the lawyer Tony Busby, that's not really the strongest move in my opinion, because that's the guy that he kind of is an ambulance chaser. He kind of does shake down people for money. He tried to get money out of Jay-Z.
To shake down Jay-Z, which Shannon said in his statement.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's not the strongest look. But then obviously trying to give her $10 million. That's a lot of money to give to somebody to just keep them quiet, for whatever reason. And so nothing looks good, but
think about it this way. He has an upcoming negotiation. And if that negotiation might be in the world of $100 million, to give you $10 million to just go away that you don't prevent me from getting $100 million,
there you go.
Feels like a small ticket.
Okay. So, there's obviously more to this story, but like always, we'll keep watching and see what develops. All right. Right now, it is time for our segment, Better Do Better. All right. And in this segment, we try to encourage people who are out there slipping, messing up, making us look bad, to do better. All right. So you better do better. First up, this is from the Black Information Network. Philadelphia Eagles running back. Help me with this name. Saquon Barkley. I knew I got it wrong the first time. Okay. Spent one-on-one time with President Donald Trump ahead of the team's scheduled Super Bowl celebration at the White House. On April 28th, Trump was set to host the Eagles at the White House after the team's Super Bowl win against the Kansas City Chiefs back in February. Barkley and Trump were spotted hanging out together on April 27th, just a day before the Eagles' visit. The two appeared to get off Marine One in New Jersey together, chatting as they exited the plane. On Monday, Barkley took to social media to address the backlash over his appearance with Trump. Quote, LOL, some people are really upset because I played golf and flew to the White House with the president. And that's in all caps. Maybe I just respect the office. Not a hard concept to understand. Just golf with Obama too, not long ago. And look forward to finishing my round with Trump. Now you get out of my mentions with all this politics and have an amazing day. Unquote. Barkley tweeted with a laughing face emoji. So, why should this guy do better? I think I'll go first. Well, so we obviously are familiar with this story. We work closely with Black Information Network, and I think that for a person that it tries to smooth this over, tries to equate golfing with Obama to golfing with Trump, they are not really heeding the gravity of the moment. They must be disconnected from politics. Now, I don't know this guy. I don't even know what sport he plays. I'm assuming it's football or something. I'm a music guy, so I know it seems like I'm clueless, but I know more about music than I do about sports. Although I played sports in high school. I played football. Anyway, golfing with Donald Trump, what it does is it gives Donald Trump cover. And at a time when a lot of Black people, a lot of marginalized people in this country, a lot of brown people, a lot of LGBTQIA plus people, a lot of people are feeling fearful of what their future could look like. If you're from one of these communities and you associate with Donald Trump, you get to become his cover, his shield. See, I'm not racist. I'm not sexist. I'm not anti-LGBTQIA plus. I'm not this because I have my friend here. He's a great guy. Look at him. He golfs with me, right? So you give him cover. And then all the people that are questioning whether or not they voted for a person who is racist, whether they or not they voted for a person who is legitimately an evil person, they get to see the headline of him golfing with a Black man and say, oh, okay, I feel better about myself, right? But the truth is that, Donald Trump is, we don't even have to talk about Donald Trump. For people that voted for Donald Trump, I've said this on another show, and I think it bears repeating right now. Let's think of the worst people in our society. Let's think of the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan and those type of people. Typically, we associate them with like kind of the worst of our society, right? The world that they wanted to see, the world that they voted for, is the world that is being shaped by Donald Trump, okay? And if you voted for that world too, then it stands to reason that his agenda is aligned with their agenda. Now, you might say, look, I don't want that part. I don't want the racist part. I want the good part. I'm a fiscal conservative. You could say that, and that's okay, all right? But you have to bear some responsibility that the world that is being created reflects the interests and the motivations of the worst of our society. And the people that are subjected to those forces are the marginalized people, the people that have been historically disenfranchised. And when this guy, Barkley guy, goes and plays golf with him, again, it provides some cover. And so, for this guy, we say you better do better, man. You got anything to add to this?
Disconnected from politics, but I respect the office, and I just golfed with Obama. Like, which one is it? Like, you're anti-political, you're apolitical, but you're justifying this because you respect the office of the president. I think you are a little bit more engaged than you'd like us to believe. And we've done away as a society with shame. No one's ashamed of themselves anymore. So there's just full justification. Get out of my mentions with this politics stuff. You're an adult man in America.
Yeah, Nelly tried that.
You cannot be removed from politics. Yeah. You play a professional sport in a league that was once segregated.
And you have a platform.
And you're a multi-millionaire because politics and civil rights and people who laid their life on the line
there it is.
To get a more progressive society for you to be able to do what you do for a living, paved the way for you. And you spit in their face when you stand next to this man and you put your arm around him and you make him seem normal and kind and decent.
Ooh.
He's an awful human, and you've aligned yourself with him. And yes, people are going to be disappointed in you for that, and you should feel ashamed of yourself.
I like that. Well, yeah. So as the segment is titled, you better do better. You know what I mean? You at some point you got to come home, and we got long memories. All right. Still broadcasting from the Civic Cypher Studios, this is the QR Code, where we share perspectives, seek understanding, and shape outcomes. I am Ramses Ja.
And I am Q Ward.
And in this half of the show, we want you to stick around because we got more to share with you. First up, we are going to be hearing from Q Ward, or specifically Q Ward's clapback. He mentioned something about a cross-section of people that need to get clapped at, and so I won't go any more detail because we had some fun with that earlier. See you laughing over there, but trust me, we're gonna have some fun with that. We're also gonna be talking about the judge that was arrested for kind of standing up for immigrants that were being chased down by ICE, and we think that's a story that is worth sharing with everyone. We're also gonna take a little bit of time to discuss Ryan Coogler and the film Sinners. It's just a fantastic cultural moment, and for those that are not familiar with it, hopefully we can give you some motivation to check that out. But for now, it is time for Q Ward's clapback. What you got for us?
So very interesting that we're going to be talking about Sinners here in a minute, because I've noticed a trend on social media over the last week as Sinners is being just critically acclaimed. Not just critically acclaimed, but ringing it up at the box office as well. I think it had the lowest drop off from opening week in the history of cinema. A less than 10% drop off from opening week, and the movie's made close to $200 million already as we get further into its release. I was able to see it on IMAX, which it was shot on IMAX cameras. There's a Marvel movie coming out this weekend, I believe, or coming out soon, that's going to push it out of IMAX. But the movie has been so successful, some theaters have decided that the Marvel movie going to have to wait because Sinners is doing its thing. But the thing that I've noticed that's so disheartening, and it's us, I guess our people, our contrarianism is just growing by the day. And I'm seeing black people go out of their way to talk about how mid or average or not that great this movie is. And I know it's not because they don't think it's great. I think some of them haven't even seen it. It's just that, well, everybody's saying it's great. So the way that I can flex and get some likes and some attention and look like the smart guy in the room is if I just take the contrarian position. And that's become the case not just with Sinners, but with the shape of the earth. That the flat earthers haven't done any scientific research to prove their point. It's just a bold contrarian position to take to declare yourself free thinking. But the Venn diagram is what has become so interesting to me. Because the most recent time I saw somebody declare Sinners a mid movie that wasn't all that great, funny, the movie they compared it to, that it people are acting like this movie is The Godfather or something. Well, how come The Godfather gets to be the greatest movie ever? Is it because it was old? Or is it because the director and the protagonist and all the characters don't look like you? And you can't accept that something made by us that looks like us, that's made for us, could be the best. So I start scrolling backwards. And I noticed a very interesting cross section.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Please. I'd love to hear where you think I'm going.
And I don't want to jump in front of you, and far be it for me to state another man's brief, but how about this? Because you're talking about contrarianism, and I do a lot of work with you, but I bet you're going to say that the person that has an issue with Sinners is the same person that took an issue with Kendrick. Is the same person that Kendrick at the Super Bowl is the same person that took issue with Kamala Harris when she was running for president. Is the same person that we find at these different points in society when we're having a cultural moment, and they are like continually the dissenters.
There's a scary thing that happens when you work with someone so closely for this long.
Did I get it?
Is that they read your mind. But it's not a singular person. It's people. It's all of the people
I'm glad
who
I was
said
right.
all of those things that you just said are the same person.
Okay, cool. I got it.
Kamala's messaging wasn't good enough. Apologizing for MAGA. Kendrick wasn't that good. Drake won the battle. The earth is flat. It's
Super Bowl
wow, the Super Bowl performance was the worst I'd ever seen. Sinners isn't that good of a movie. It's like contrarian and anti-us. And it sucks because it's us. All of the people that we just named, it's black people, young black people.
I want to add something here. This experience, I think it's important that we're sharing this right now, because this is something that I don't experience this when I'm on social media. I'm on social media for a very different reason, and you are just a popular person in general. Like, everybody wants to be your friend. I know you're like magical, dude. And I go on social media, and I think I'm in a group chat with you and like my family, and so you have like more, I guess, more interactions with people, and I think that you're more of like the lightning rod when it comes to our programming.
What is an interesting thing that happens? I don't really interact with people at all. I just read a lot of stories.
Okay.
Like, if somebody followed us or me on social media, I am Q Ward on all socials, they'll notice you've posted 3 times in the last year, 6 times in the last 2 years, 9 times in the last 3 years. I don't post a lot. I share a lot of stories though.
Okay, I see what
and
you
I'm
mean.
Unfortunately, because of what we do, very, very tuned into what's going on in the world and what's going on in this country.
Okay.
That does not always just involve politics, which we cover, very, very often, but popular culture in general, music and civic engagement and entertainment and sports are also topics that come across our desk and that come through my feed. And the algorithm understands that those are things that I'm interested in, so I see them all the time.
Sure.
I see those stories, I share those stories. I don't do a lot of interacting with those people. I would drive myself crazy messaging that person back that said this movie that I've now seen twice wasn't that good.
Okay, I see what you mean. But you're observing.
But I'm observing the behavior, and like I said, as soon as I read it, I felt it. Let me scroll back. Like I scrolled
so
back.
Funny to me.
I didn't scroll back to do research or to investigate. I knew I would find what I was looking for. I knew it was there. I just had to scroll far enough. And luckily, Kendrick's on tour right now. So the same people that are saying sinners aren't that good are the same people saying that all those 50,000 people that are at that show are bots. It's the same people. Wow. Or that they used AI when we were going to the rallies during the campaign, that they used AI to make those places look full. We're like, no, we're here. It's not AI. It's people.
Those are people. Yeah.
And those type of people will move the goalposts, and they can't just be wrong, and they can't just be contrarian for contrarian's sake. So they end up spiraling down these rabbit holes of conspiracy theory and nonsense. And
let me ask you something.
Please.
Because I've heard you mention a couple times that it's us, meaning like black people.
Yes.
Do you think it could be Russian bots? Because I looked into that, and those things are so sophisticated.
No, because I'm not just talking about profile-less accounts. I'm talking about personalities. Like, I'm looking at videos of black people, some of them famous, talking.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Like, it's actual opinions from actual people.
And it's just to get on people's nerves. The one thing that I think people...
I don't assume that it's just to get on people's nerves. I think they believe themselves.
Do they?
But I know the reason they arrived at where they are is contrarian with no foundation.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clapback. Look forward to many more. All right, now let's have some dialogue. Let's talk about the judge that was arrested for standing up for immigrants. Now, for those that are not familiar with the story, I'm going to paint a little bit of picture. This comes from the LA Times. The flurry of immigration enforcement at courthouses around the country in the last month, already heavily criticized by judicial officials and lawyers, has renewed a legal battle from President Trump's first term as advocates fear people might avoid coming to court. It's drawing further attention with last Friday's arrest of Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin. The FBI arrested Dugan on suspicion that she tried to help a defendant evade waiting federal agents by letting him leave her courtroom through a jury door. Quote, some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not, and we're sending a very strong message today, Attorney General Pam Bondi said during an appearance on Fox News after the arrest. So, I guess I'll share some thoughts before you kind of jump in here, but I kind of thought that judges were the people that interpreted the law. So I don't know that it's as much a matter of judges thinking that they're above the law, but judges have their place. But here's something that I found recently. There's half of the country that is turning a blind eye to this sort of thing, right? And the reason and I wish I had the article, because the article could say it better than I'm about to say it. But, and of course, there's no like hard numbers to go with this. But if you hear me, I think that you'll feel the truth in this statement. And if not, if you're listening, please feel free to disagree. You can find me on all social media at Ramsesjob. But the people that voted for Donald Trump a second time or a third time, those triple Trumpers, right? These people do not care about law and order if it does not, if it prevents them from getting, or prevents us from getting to the version of the country that they want. They don't care that Donald Trump is not a normal politician. They don't care that he does some evil thing. They don't care that Republicans do some things that objectively would be considered evil. They think that Jesus Christ would be in line at a polling station in front of the Ku Klux Klansmen and behind the Nazi, standing in line to all collectively go vote for Donald Trump, right? This is the reality for them. They don't care that Trump is breaking rules and cutting through
Can we say breaking laws?
Breaking laws. That's
breaking rules sounds so benign and not serious.
Thank you for covering
Trump
me there.
Trump is breaking laws.
You're right. But they love the fact that now that they feel like he's above the law, that he is the law. That's probably the best way to say it. And so there's half of the country that'll look at this and say, yeah, of course, arrest the judge. ICE is there to do what they're, you know what I mean? And while we are, these are like the embers that kind of start sort of Civil War stuff, man. And I don't think that, I think that maybe like a half of the country doesn't realize that the rules are for all of us all the time. That this country was framed in such a way that it could thrive in perpetuity because this country had learned from the societies before it and how those societies had collapsed. And we're at 400 or so years into this American experiment. And I think that people think that while they're up right now, those on the right in particular, far right, while they're up right now, for them to turn a blind eye to the Constitution and the framework of this society, I think that's shooting themselves in the foot. We are not old enough to just swing in one direction and have it be all good. There are countries that are a lot older than the United States. China is bragging right now that they are not sitting down at a negotiating table with Donald Trump to negotiate the tariffs. They're bragging. They're like, China's been here for 5,000 years. We'll be fine. That's really what they're on, right? So for the people that look at this like, oh, this is fine, they're arresting judges now. No, this is crazy. This should not be happening. And there were a lot of steps that people turned a blind eye to before we got to this point. At no point should this happen. This should have been litigated long before, and indeed it was. But what we're seeing is a regime, effectively, ignoring lawful orders from the courts of the land. And it's been politics as usual until today. And if there are people that rise up against this, it's not we the people, it's really just one half of the country, because the other half is looking at us like, yeah, we're finally getting our country back. Trump's in there finally getting rid of all these illegals. No, Trump is putting on a show. And yes, there are some people who are not technically here legally yet, but if you're deporting, 100,000 people and 750,000 of them have never committed a crime, then they're not illegal criminals. If you're deporting people just
75,000, I think you meant
75,000. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, right. And again, these numbers, I want to make sure that I state it as clearly as I can. These numbers, I haven't yet to verify them, but they come from trusted sources. So
we tend to try not to get bogged down with semantics.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And it's not to be inaccurate. We're making a point that
whether or not the numbers,
it's not specific to the
numbers,
the exact number,
right?
And I also don't want us to veer into illegals. They're deporting citizens.
Yeah, that too. I was getting there.
Like let's cut across the grass though. Yeah. Like, because they can try to soundly make an argument that illegals should be deported. Either way, the way that they're doing it is illegal. And how dare this judge want there to be due process before you just arrest, detain, and deport someone? Like, how dare a judge think that you should follow the law? Oh my God. Right? So they're the party of law and order until it comes time for them to break the law.
You said it best right there.
Until it comes time for them to break the law.
We saw that on January 6th.
We need to say it with those words, though. They're the party of law and order and back the blue and all that nonsense until it's time for them to break the law. And then they're anti-American, anti-law enforcement, anti-due process, anti-constitution, and anti-judge.
That's when they start looking at who appointed the judge. Yeah.
The back the blue, all lives matter people are the same. Get out of my country, go to some prison in a foreign country with no due process, arrest judges. The same people that were anti-defund the police became defund the FBI when it wasn't in their best interest.
Talk to me, Q.
Let us break the law whenever we feel like it, because we're right.
And it's our country.
And it's only our country.
There you go.
So it is a really, really disgusting time. And you said the word civil war. Once upon a time that could happen. The United States military is the muscle of the president of the United States. We can't start a civil war against them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, that can't happen anymore. It's no longer a possibility. You know, we can march in the streets, but if every American with every gun they had took to arms against the United States military, it'd be a very short fight. So the idea of civil war is no longer a realistic idea. I don't know what we're supposed to do now. You guys let Donald Trump become the president again, and he told you he was going to do everything that he's doing. Or I'm sorry, they published everything that he was going to do, and then he threw up his hands and said, hey, I don't know what that is. I mean, of course, all those people that wrote for me and were appointed by me, but come see, come saw. Well, why would you think that had anything to do with me until day one? Okay, let's run it. Yeah. And now we are watching the entire world become a far less safe place because of what we allowed to happen here in November. It is a really disgusting and dangerous and scary place for us to be. And most of us, I'm certain, still don't realize that yet.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of going on about our day like we always have happening. And I'm looking around sometimes like, am I the only one that's reading all of this stuff? Am I the only person that realizes all of this is happening?
There's a stunning silence across the land. But, one person that is still active or was still active until she was arrested. It was Judge Hannah Dugan in Wisconsin. She did what was in her power, what she felt was right. And, that is the sort of thing that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to resist. This country was birthed from resistance. You know what I mean?
You guys may have read about the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah,
that happened because of tariffs.
On tea, just that. All right. Well, for the last segment, we're going to shift over to some entertainment news. Ryan Coogler, he's having a heck of a run. His one of his partners, I'll say, Chadwick Boseman, passed away, and that was, for those that are listening that aren't black, I'm sure because you wouldn't be listening to us if you didn't know. But you probably know that was a loss that we all felt. Black people across the board, we felt that. That felt special. He was kind of our superhero, and there's a couple of times when I cried. I cried for Nipsey Hussle. I did. I'm from Compton, so that was Southern California. That lifestyle, that just felt like we shouldn't have lost him. And Chadwick, that was another one where it was like, Kobe. Kobe was another one where it's like, that doesn't feel great to lose someone that you looked up to. And so for Ryan Coogler to then take that moment, turn it into Black Panther 2, pay homage to Chadwick and continue to honor him, but also continue to showcase his excellence. I think that this is all of these things culminate in this moment. Add to it that the movie Sinners, it has some sort of special deal with the movie studio where the rights to the movie revert back to him. And then I've also heard that there's going to be a cinematic universe for Sinners 2. And so this feels special. This feels on par with like the Tyler Perrys and like the building of an empire, which it doesn't happen very often for us. And so we love the idea of celebrating this. So when I share this, I want you to understand that this part of the show, we're sharing it in that context, okay? All right, so I'm going to share from Variety. This year, the Oscar season prayer has a name, and it's Sinners. With Sinners, writer-director Ryan Coogler, one of Hollywood's most quietly seismic forces, steps into a genre long neglected by the Academy and once again reshapes the game. A slow-burn psychological horror film, Sinners is not just a pivot for Coogler, rather it's a proclamation. For more than a decade, Coogler has been Hollywood's quiet revolutionary, symbolizing for the Black community a figure akin to our very own Christopher Nolan. From chronicling the final hours of Oscar Grant's life in Fruitvale Station, to reviving the Rocky franchise with Creed, to breaking barriers with the cultural juggernaut Black Panther, Coogler fuses personal and political storytelling with mass appeal like few others. Now, I want to share something. This is in his own words. And this is just him talking about Chadwick. Again, for folks that aren't familiar, just bringing you up to speed.
But if I hadn't gotten started when I did, and graduated film school at 24 and made Fruitvale at 25 and made Creed and Black Panther around the time of being 30. All these things were like dominoes for me. And if I hadn't gotten that start, I never would have met Chad, whose time was so limited.
So yeah, that was him getting emotional there, but it gives you an idea of one of the things that I'll say. I'll just go ahead and say it. I love the fact that he is authentically himself, right? He has not had to dress it up anymore. And we're talking about the way that he talks. He's from the Bay Area, and that's who he is. Oaktown. Right? For a lot of people to hear him speak, I think that there's this idea, and it's across the board, of all races, of all walks of life, all socioeconomic backgrounds. There's this idea, I'm sure, that exists that when you hear him speak, you would not imagine that he's capable of the complex, brilliant execution of storytelling, of creating a series of films.
Who wouldn't imagine?
Well, a lot of people.
Detroit, Michigan.
A lot of people, right?
You're from Compton, California.
Yeah, no, I know.
I absolutely imagine that brother from the Bay, from East Oakland, from our cousins and them.
But the point I'm making, would
be capable of complex, brilliant storytelling. Don't make me flip this table over around this job.
I got you. Hear me out. Watch this. So there's a lot of people that might hear him talking. There's a lot of people that will hear me and you talking, just how we talk, and feel like, oh, I need to stay away from those guys, and would not imagine that we are syndicated on 150 radio stations across the country, and the words that we share with each other actually, are part and parcel to the empire that we've managed to build somehow. And so this is why I really wanted to have him speak in his own voice and kind of share a little bit of insight into who this person is, because I think that for this part of the story, at least the one thing that I wanted to share with people is that you never know what you're condemning. You never know what you're fearing. You never know what you're, trying to get away from. You never know what you're suppressing. You never know what you're discriminating against, and how capable and how brilliant the mind might be. Things like accents. A lot of times those are regional, they're cultural. And it in no way reflects a person's cognitive abilities. This is a lesson I learned a long time ago, because I said something in a conversation once to a woman. This is an older white woman. I was a teenager when I said it. But I was talking about a person who had like kind of a thick, like country accent, right? And I was like, oh man, they talk like they're stupid. They talk like they're unintelligent. I said this, right? I was a child, okay? And she said, no, Ramses, they're not unintelligent. They're just Southern. And she said it just like that. And it was just like a switch, right? And so I'm trying to help create that moment for people that may not be familiar with, who Ryan Coogler is. Now, as far as the film, you've seen the film. So, talk to us a little bit about the film.
I've seen the film twice.
Okay.
And I don't like talking about it.
Okay.
Because I like for people to be as surprised by the rich cultural weaving that he does with the storytelling and the visuals.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like it's a tapestry, man. It is a rich tapestry, and it's so colorful. It's so cinematic, and it's so black. It's based in the Mississippi Delta during the sharecropping of the 1920s and 30s. It's a really, really powerful thing going on, where these brothers from Chicago come back home to Mississippi and tap back into their roots and where they're from, and their reputation precedes them. But a black original IP horror, I don't even want to say the next word because some people might know and I want them to be shocked, so I'm just gonna bite my tongue on that one. It catches you off guard in the best ways. It's so creative, it's so different, it's so brilliant. And what Coogler has been able to do, because he's had so much success, he's done over $2 billion at the box office already. Wow. I think he's 30 something years old. And he was able to negotiate that deal that you mentioned where in, I think 20 years or 25 years, the rights and the masters come back to him and his, which doesn't happen. And he wouldn't have been able to do that on prior stories because he's telling someone else's stories. IP that already exists with Marvel. A story that already happened with Fruitville, an actual bio story. And then Creed, with Creed from the Rockies, universe, this being his original IP, he not only negotiated to get the rights and the masters back, but first dollar gross, which never happens. From the very first dollar the movie makes, he gets his percentage. Not after the studio makes their money back, not after marketing costs are covered. Up front, from the first dollar made, I need mine in
right
cash.
Now, in the mighty name. All right, let me ask you something. I think you're gonna love this question. Do you think that Ryan Coogler creates films in the way that Kendrick Lamar creates music?
I'll do you one better. Ryan Coogler created a film and Kendrick Lamar created the music for the film.
Ooh.
It's called Black Panther. You should check it out.
You're right. So, okay, I love that. But, where I was going with that for folks that aren't familiar, Q and I, we've had lots of conversations about Compton Kendrick. And, there's rapping and then there's what Kendrick does. And it's very complicated and there's always something new to discover. And I think that you can find that same type of rewatchability, revisitability, if you will, with Ryan Coogler's films, where you go back and you're like, oh, these neat little gems, and then you have fun discussing it. So really excited about that. But that's it for us. That's our time. So thank you for tuning in to us here on the QR Code. I've been your host, Ramses Ja.
He is always Ramses Ja. I try to always be Q Ward. Some days I ain't up to it.
But we make up the Q and the R of the QR code. Be sure to follow us on all social media. You can find me on all platforms, again, at Ramses Ja.
I am Q Ward on all social media as well.
And if you would like to download this episode, you can do that. You can also download some of our other content. Just check us out. Search Civic Cypher. That's CIVIC-CIPHER. Be sure to check us out tomorrow, because we will be back doing it for you one more again. And hopefully,
make sure you tell your friends about us, please.
That too, please. But yeah, check us out tomorrow. We're doing it again, and hopefully we'll have some more fun. And until then, y'all,
peace.